Hello and welcome to Creepy Haunted Forests. Sometimes topics for videos seem to appear out of nowhere, and this is the case for today. While looking up images for last week's video, I ran across a particular haunted forest that left me bewildered. So this led me on a search for some of the most haunted locations out there, and let me tell you, there are quite a few of them to discover. As a note, I won't be talking about the Hoia forest in Romania, which is quite fantastic, but I already made a video dedicated to that one a while ago. As long as I remember to do so, I'll try to link that in the description. A few other locations on the chopping block would be the Pine Barrens, since I am mainly focused on hauntings, not cryptids, and the famous Isla de las Muñecas in Mexico, otherwise known as the Island of the Dolls. This may come as a shock, but I'd rather not talk about the Okigihara forest in Japan due to it being such a sensitive topic. With that said, don't fear, since we have a lot of places to uncover. Before getting to our topic, I will say that a lot of these encounters are vague, if not simply brief. This bothers me since I am known for being in-depth. As such, I will be adding other information where needed. Our first location is known as Dow Hill in Kurseong, India. This forest is located near the city of Darjeeling, and it is known to have a beautiful landscape in the daytime, but at night, that is all said to change. What doesn't help with the spooky factor is that many report that the area tends to be shrouded in fog most times of the year. What makes this location famous is that one of the small paths that wind through the forest have been said to be named Death Road. I was unable to find the reason behind this name, but it does make one curious. Stories claim that some people who have traveled this road can slowly become insane by some unseen force. It is on this site that many travelers brave enough to venture there have claimed that they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, and in some cases, even followed. Not only this, but there are also tales of people seeing some type of creature staring at them from the darkness of the trees, and it is said to have one glowing red eye. If that wasn't bad enough, there are also local legends that a ghostly woman wearing a gray dress has been seen walking through the forest. With all that said, the spookiest tale is that workers near this land have witnessed the ghost of a boy who doesn't have a head. These ghost stories are said to extend to the Victoria Boys High School that is built nearby, where the sound of children's whispers and footsteps are heard even when the school is closed. Now, in looking into this forest, I saw of locals being adamant that these tales are untrue. This happens so frequently that I began to wonder if these stories are made up, or are they trying to be covered up. As with any location, it is hard to tell, since you will find locals who say the stories are false, while others insist they are real. Who knows? It could be like the recent topic we covered on the Oklahoma octopus, where the legend appeared to have been made up outside of that state. So is that what is going on here? I also would like to note that I did find a trail nicknamed the Death Road, which is officially known as Rotang Pass, but it certainly isn't called this due to ghosts, but rather for how dangerous it is to travel. Our next destination is the Witchwood Forest located in Oxfordshire, England. Before getting into the legends, I must touch on the interesting name. While it would seem a fitting moniker for a list of this type, it actually was called as such for the three villages that surrounded it: Milton under Witchwood, Shipton under Witchwood, and Ascot under Witchwood. This simply made the forest called the Witchwoods. This area is also very beautiful, where it is common to see the floor covered in bluebells, and it genuinely has an appeasing, peaceful look. Under that guise, there are stories that it hides a dark secret. Many travelers have made claims that they have felt the hand of some spectral being grab them or touch their shoulder as they walk the trails. This also is linked to the uneasy feeling of being watched and followed as well. Other tales mention that the ghostly image of an old disheveled man driving a cart can be seen, and in the back he has two spectral children who let out cries of despair. At night, some have heard the sound of whispering, shouting, and even the beat of a horse's hooves on the ground. In some instances, these ghosts can even affect travelers, since many claim that they inexplicably became nauseated just by walking the paths. Some of these sightings make sense when you factor in that some of the trees in the forest were used as a gallows for convicted criminals. With this information, reports have emerged of angry male spirits making their presence known around the particular trees that they were hung from. The most famous ghost story for this location revolves around a woman named Amy Robsart, who was the wife of Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester. In this legend, while at their home in Cumnor Place, Amy broke her neck after falling down some stairs and died in 1560. Rumors abound that Robert may have played a hand in this, since he was also showing an interest in marrying Elizabeth I while his original wife was still alive. After this event, Robert was out hunting in Witchwood when suddenly he was approached by the spirit of Amy, who informed him that they would be together again in 10 days. True to her word, not long after this encounter, Robert fell ill and passed away on the 10th day. It is said that after this, the spirit of Amy can be seen roaming the forest, and anyone who sees her will die not long after. If this part of the story is true, then I would tend to believe that Robert may not have killed her, since she still showed interest in them being together. You wouldn't think that would be the case if she knew who was involved in her death. Moving on, we are heading to Waco, Texas to visit the Cameron Park. This land is found in McLennan County and was originally owned by Flora B. Cameron. Although I should note she donated the land to the city with 2 stipulations: that it be free of commercialization and that it be named after her husband William, who was a philanthropist and lumber baron. While many residents enjoy the massive amount of land this park sits on, it also is said to be home to many ghosts and a very familiar urban legend. Starting off, there is an 88-step staircase in the forest at the southern end of the park known as Jacob's Ladder. Stories claim that some people who have climbed the stairs have felt a ghostly hand grab a hold of their clothes and try to pull them back down. From what I have gathered, this seems to happen more frequently to female visitors. In the nearby Lindsay Hollow Road, a story emerged that during the Civil War, 2 brothers with the last name Lindsay had a habit of stealing horses. At one point, the men tried to avoid capture by running into the forest, but they were captured and summarily killed. It is said that the men were then secretly buried in a hollow, since the attackers were fearful of what the townsfolk would think if they found out the Lindsays had been killed before standing trial. To this day, it is said that if you look towards that part of the forest, you can see the ghostly image of both men hanging from one of the trees. There are stories about people seeing a witch walking through the forest, and if she spots someone, she will chase after them and beat them. This story is based on the nanny of the Cameron children, who would frequently take walks with them, but while out, if they came across any squatters, she would grab a switch and chase them off. Apparently, after she died, vagrants would tell tales of seeing her ghost still wandering around, and she would continue her task of chasing them off. In some instances, she would become enraged due to not being able to find the children she had protected, and would violently attack people almost as if she thought they had kidnapped them. It is believed the witch part of the story came from the interlopers calling her that in life as a derogatory name for chasing them off. There is another quote-unquote witch that is said to roam about, and is normally found around the ruins of an old house in the forest. There are 2 stories about this one, with one claiming that a woman originally lived in the house, and when people started to disappear in the town, they started to claim that she was a witch and burned down her house while she was still inside. The other version claims the woman had a son who would invite friends over, but they would never leave. Again, the townsfolk blamed her and torched her house. All the while, the boy had been secretly killing his friends and burying them in the forest. It is said he managed to escape unscathed, but was never found. The legend that this area has involves the rock cliff face that is aptly named Lover's Leap. While many locations around the world have similar named places and legends, it is said that this is the original. Apparently, the daughter of the chief of the Wacos, named Wawati, had fallen in love with a man from the Apache tribe. The 2 tribes were not friendly with each other, but the 2 would secretly sneak off to be together. One night a scout caught them and reported the news back to the chief. Plans were then made to kill the Apache, but before they were able to do so, the lovers met on the cliff held on to each other, and jumped to their death with the plan of spending eternity together. It is said that on a night with a full moon, the pair can be seen standing on the ledge of the rock. Finally, we get to the forest that started the whole idea for this video, and that would be the Darren Woods, which is located in the villages of Pluckley and Smarden in Kent, England. It should be noted that while this is considered the most haunted forest in Britain, Pluckley is also known as the most haunted village in Britain. So I guess the two really go hand in hand for this story. This forest has the fantastic nickname as the Screaming Woods, and apparently, rightfully so. The most prominent activity in this land is that people report hearing blood-curdling screams that are prevalent during both daytime and night. Legends are mixed as to who is making these noises, with some people saying that it is the ghost of a man who got lost and fell to his death. Others state that in the 18th century, a highwayman was captured by villagers and killed after they nailed him to a tree and decapitated him. Now his ghost is unable to rest, and the screams are from him reliving his death. Within the forest, people claim to see the ghost of an army colonel from the 1800s who became distraught and would wander around the forest. Others say you can see his ghost as it is hanging from a tree where he had died. There are claims that at night, or when it is particularly foggy, you will hear disembodied footsteps or even whispering from all around you. The ghosts of many people who have become lost in the forest are said to be frequently seen. The most common sighting is that of shadow people following visitors around. I will be presenting some interesting information about that shortly. If that wasn't odd enough, they claim that on November 1st, 1948, 20 bodies were found in the forest and none of them had any sign of trauma. On the day prior, which would be Halloween, residents claimed that they saw strange lights in the sky over the forest that night. When the bodies were autopsied, no cause of death could be determined. What makes this even more weird is that the police ended the investigation within a week and claimed they had died due to carbon monoxide poisoning. Then, in October of 1998, residents witnessed strange lights over the forest again that they claimed resembled spiderwebs. On that night, 4 college students vanished after last being seen entering the forest, and no trace of them was ever found. Yet again, the police started an investigation, but closed it abruptly after 3 weeks. Was this the result of something sinister, or could it be possibly signs of UFO activity? At this point, I would like to jump back to the shadow person sightings. 2 years ago, a story emerged that a woman named Anne Marie English had taken her children to play in the forest. While on this trip, she started taking pictures of the event and didn't think anything of it. Later, when they returned home, she noticed something really odd with the images. In one picture, which I should be showing you, they claim that they see the image of a little girl sitting in a tree, just watching the kids. I agree with what you are probably thinking, that this simply could have been a trick of the mind via the pareidolia effect. However, in another image around the same tree, she captured what looks eerily similar to the shadow of a man standing there. Granted, this could also be a trick of the eye if you compare it to the other shadows in the shot, but due to the lore of this forest, it is quite possible that she actually captured images of some of the famed denizens of this area. As I end this, I wanted to mention that I know I have viewers from all over our great globe, and I would be interested in learning if you have any information about these stories. Have you heard of these stories before? If you have, are they known to be real, or just a figment of someone's active imagination? With this video, there are quite a few other locations that we could look at, but I don't know if you enjoyed this one. I normally prefer involved backstories, such as Amy was walking down the road and when she looked up she saw a ghost that looked like, etc. Rather than the ones like many of these stories where it simply boils down to just saying, people see this type of ghost, period, end statement. Personally, I don't feel the stories are that strong of a topic, but if you are interested in a second part, then I'll be more than happy to make another one for you. Just let me know. Finally, I officially wanted to say that it is pretty clear that our next video in the Cryptid by State series will be Maine. However, keep putting your votes in the comments section since there have been some pretty interesting changes in the rankings over the past few weeks. If you haven't yet done so, do please consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. Also, it would be greatly appreciated if you could share my videos with someone you know who may be interested in this type of genre. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.